Welcome to Unfinished Conversations, where turning silence into strength happens one voice at a time. Here is your host, Rebecca Lombardo.
Hey everybody, welcome to Unfinished Conversations. I am Rebecca Lombardo, and I am honored today to feature my guest, Jody Betty, who is a longtime friend and a staunch advocate for mental health. And it's just a great conversation with her every time, and I'm really looking forward to this. So let's just jump right in, Jody, okay?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I totally appreciate it. And it's been so long since we've actually caught up. So this
Yeah.
is like an excellent opportunity to do so. And I'm super proud of you getting this all up and going again and running. And it's awesome. It's
Thank
awesome.
you so much. And I appreciate you agreeing to be our first guest. You were the
Of
first person that
course.
I thought of.
Oh,
I
I
I
love that.
was scrolling down X. I like to refer to it as Twitter, but
Me
I was
too.
I was scrolling down X and your name popped up and I said, "That's right. That's who it's gonna be." So it came to me right away. So
I love that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
absolutely. So you mentioned that you had to survive 14 years of abuse, which is, you know, the fact that you've come out on the other side and you are this strong and resilient and amazing person now is phenomenal. But when you look back now, what do you think helped you survive during those years?
Two things. I think that my brain did what it needed to do, which is, the typical trauma, locking up the memories and just going into survival mode to survive. And I'm currently now trying to get out of 100% survival mode because when you live in survival mode for so long, the cortisol is actually just continually producing throughout your body the whole time. And the actual thing with trauma is the cortisol is supposed to release when you have a trauma, but then when the trauma settles, it settles down. So then you're not hypervigilant. I've been hypervigilant for as long as I've been alive.
Hmm.
So I think my body and my mind did what it needed to do. And soccer. I played soccer when I started when I was 4, and there was no league for little kids back then. So
Oh.
they took me in a league with 7 and 8 year olds. And I was just like this tiny little, I was pretty quick too, but I was just this tiny little thing. And I started like running around all these kids and like doing really well. So then it kind of was just noticed that it was a natural talent for me. So um, as I aged, I always played with older kids.
Mhm.
So by the time I was 13, I was playing in the 18 and senior league, which is
Oh
great fun
wow.
because of course, like we're going on tournaments and they're teaching you how to sneak like vodka across the border in like a hairspray bottle back in the day,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But I think it was just because soccer was where I had 100% confidence in what I was doing. And even like my father being, the equivalent of, I don't even know, like just one of the worst narcissistic, evil human beings on earth, he could not take that away from me. He
Mhm.
couldn't take that 90 minutes per game. It didn't matter how I played or how well I did. He would say, if I scored 5 goals, he'd say, well, why didn't you score six? My mom would
Right.
be like, oh my God, that's amazing. You scored five, right?
Hmm.
So, and then I learned that I had to just use that 90 minutes and it was a pure mental escape because I had to be focused 100% on the ball, on the game, on my team. I didn't have time to have to worry about, protecting my mom for abuse or being abused or
Right.
hiding from my father. So I think that soccer was a huge, it was a consistent in my life. Like I literally played from 4 till I had a hysterectomy at 40, went back and quit at about 44 because my body just had enough.
Oh, wow, that's quite a stretch.
Yeah, it was a really long time, and it was the one thing during my life that was consistent, and it gave me confidence for, however many games I played a week, which sometimes I was playing 4 and 5 nights a week just to, not have to deal or cope with anything and to be able to build up my confidence. But I found it difficult to carry that confidence off the field because then off the field, I had to become the protector, the defender, the, parentified child, that kind of thing. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, it's definitely, I ask myself sometimes, like, where does this resilience come from?
Hmm.
And I think it's almost habitual for me because I've had to be so resilient since literally birth. Like I was born hammered and I spent 3 months in the hospital while they, checked to see if I was going to have fetal alcohol syndrome. And then there was like foster care and 5 homes, and you don't go through 5 homes unless bad things are happening. So,
Right.
removed from 4 of the 5 homes, and there was just never anywhere that I felt like, do I fit in somewhere? Like
Hmm.
where is my home, my safety? And for some reason, it wasn't at home because I was terrified of my father and because of the domestic abuse. So I found that safety at soccer.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, obviously it's a shame that that's what you had to do, you know, is to look for something to keep yourself safe. But
Hmm.
finding something like that that was rewarding and physically could keep you in shape,
Yeah.
it which is a struggle for all of all of us, really,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, um, and just that mattered to you is really important. And I love that you did it until you were 44. I think that's just the comeback story of the year right there.
Yeah, it's I didn't want to not play, but I was just like getting physical signs and things aren't healing. Like I snapped my leg in half when I was like 25 and well,
Hmm.
it healed, right? But
Hmm.
at this age now, it takes like 10 times as long to heal anything. So I'm running out of
Yeah.
cartilage in my joints, and I was just like, okay, I hate to do this. And I felt really lost because that was my safety, that was my confidence, and that was also my friends group. And when I
Hmm.
left soccer, I lost a lot of that. And
Yeah.
then I had to find something else to put it into, which is when I started writing.
Hmm. And what an amazing job you did with that. That really has,
Yeah.
wow, that's far surpassed anything that any of the the stigma movement has really, you've kind of taken that on your shoulders and carried that for quite some time. And I've really been impressed with, even when I kind of faltered a little bit because I got a little bit of the overwhelm of the whole thing after a while, and I kind of faltered a little bit. I knew that you were still out there working on it, and I was continually impressed with your ambition.
Thank you. It's something I'm passionate about because I think every single person's story, everyone has a story, first of all,
Mhm.
and every story is important. And some people don't have their voice yet, and that's okay. They may never find it, or they may find it one day. But if I can put my story out there to have it relate to other people just so they don't know, so they know they're not alone, then
Mhm.
that makes a huge difference. And with that blog, like honestly, I wrote that out of pure anger after getting off a crisis line. I was furious with these people and their scripted nonsense. I was like, this is
Mhm.
not how you connect with people.
Right.
And I got off and I turned it into this why you should, it's called oh my God, I'm gonna have a brain fart. Uh I want you to want to live.
Yes, yes. I
And
do recall that.
I put it out there, and then it got picked up by the Mighty and Teen Vogue and all these places. I was getting calls from people in Europe asking if they could translate it into, different languages and stuff. And it's got over 5 million hits, and I have probably 3 to 5 thousand messages that people who have either shared their story, they've reached out to say thank you, they, are asking for help. And
Hmm.
it's a absolute honor that this went so far because it wasn't put out there to go anywhere except for
Right,
help one person.
right.
Never mind help all these people and now be a worldwide thing. It's in some schools in the States. It's in a lot of places, and that I kind of downplay it because I'm like, well, I just wrote an article, right? But then
Hmm.
when I get these letters from people saying, no, literally, if I hadn't have found this at that time, because I was Googling how to kill myself and this came up. And if I hadn't have found that, I might not be here. And I'm not really good at like taking in positive
Yeah.
compliments and stuff, like you want to like, oh, it's no big deal or whatever
Hmm.
else. But when you think about it, to that person, it is a huge deal. So who am I to discount that?
Right.
Right? Because that's their emotion, that's their feeling, and everybody's feelings, whatever they are valid.
Hmm. Absolutely. And the only downside that I found, and when I wrote my book, and I did get some people coming to me as you did with questions about, how do I get help, or can you help me, or things like that. That's a pretty big burden to bear. Um and I understand that completely. It's really, you've really got to be very careful with what you say and how you say
Yeah,
it. and
yeah,
and as a person, like just you and I are, we're just regular people. We just happen to write this thing. We're not trained in what to do in these type of situations. So um you know saying, well, you've got to call this 800 number to find that out, is exactly the opposite of what you were trying to put out there. Um, and it's just ironic because it came almost full circle. Here you were with this problem with this, this phone call that you had made. Then you write this, then people come to you for advice, but you don't maybe necessarily have the capacity or the bandwidth to maybe even offer the advice that they might necessarily need. And then what do you offer them in advance, instead,
right. So
you know?
I try not to offer advice. I try to state things in a way that when I was in a similar situation, these are some coping skills that I learned,
Hmm.
and I'm willing to share them with you if you're interested, because maybe they'll work for you. And if they don't, I want you to come back to me and say none of these worked, because I've been to therapy countless numbers of times, and I have a good um size toolbox of coping skills. Now, using those on yourself is not necessarily as easy as, you know,
Yeah.
saying to someone, you could try A, B, or C. And if that doesn't work, don't worry, because there's still the rest of the alphabet waiting in this box.
Hmm.
And I also try, when I'm talking to people, I don't want to pry information out of them by asking like really harsh questions. So I'm more of a tell me how you're feeling about. Tell me open-ended questions that can't be answered with a yes or no. Like, because that kind of, if you just ask like, are you okay? Someone can say yes or no. If you say, tell me how you're feeling, that's not a yes or no question.
Hmm.
So that sometimes prompts them to want to open up a little bit. So I've been very cautious in the language. And I also like at the beginning, when I started getting all these letters. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, what do I do?
Right,
Like,
right.
right? And then
Mm-hmm.
I was burdening myself. I was taking on all these people's stories, like this poor kid in Africa and this poor kid in Asia. And like, I was
Mm-hmm.
just, and then I decided, wait a second. Okay, these are not my emotional problems to carry.
Right.
So now I need to set a boundary. So now, unless someone sends me an email and says, like, I'm literally on the edge at this moment. And if I'm sleeping, I'm sleeping. I don't have notifications on. I've set
Right.
boundaries, and I've also set boundaries as to how much attachment I will have with a person. You can tell me everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't absorb your pain because
Right.
I'm an empath and I'm prone to
Exactly.
do that. So now I've had to set that boundary where
Mm-hmm.
I'm practicing not to absorb pain, but just to be that sounding board, that, person that's there because I know what it's like just to need someone to listen to or to have, sometimes people just need to be validated that their feelings are okay. And that the worst thing that they feel right now, it's going to end. I promise it's going to end at some
Mm-hmm.
point in time, or it's going to lessen. It may be
Yeah.
replaced by something shitty, but it might be replaced by something good, right?
Right, exactly. Let me ask you just kind of a question, just sort of out of the blue.
Hmm.
Have you ever considered being some sort of a coach, like a life coach or a
Hmm.
grief
I'm actually
coach?
I'm actually taking a life coaching course, and I also took a trauma coaching course like a few years ago.
Hmm.
So I need to finish up the I, like I had a really rough winter. I get seasonal depression really bad, and it sucks my motivation.
Right,
Now that my housing situation is settled, I want to get back into doing that, to finish up the course so I can have my certificate and then maybe start on a little bit of coaching because I kind of do it anyway,
right, exactly. And
right?
let me
And
tell you that I'm on the exact same course that you're on. I finished anxiety coaching.
oh, awesome.
And I'm headed into life coaching now. So if you finish, you just get back into yours and you have any questions or anything, feel free to come to me and ask me if I've got any advice for you. I'll be happy to,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
it's
that would be awesome.
I've started with it and it it was never something that was on my radar. I never thought that it would be anything that I could do. And, you know, with the just the lived experience alone, and Lord knows, honey, you've got lived experience.
I got a PhD in life.
Yep. It goes a long way and
Yep, yeah.
it really does help other people. And I just before you even said anything, I knew that it would be a good fit for you. I think that you will actually enjoy it.
I think so too, because I mean, I'm not anti-therapists. I think
Hmm.
therapists can be good. I think you have to really form a connection with a therapist. And I think
Right.
it's okay to check out, five therapists before you choose one. But I can also read every book that those therapists read.
Hmm.
I can absorb the same knowledge and I can learn the same information. But what they don't have, a lot of them anyway, is the lived experience.
Right.
So the combination of the two together is perfect.
Hmm.
It's the ideal therapist. And then unfortunately, therapists are so damn expensive.
Right.
But a life coach, right, has that experience. Generally, people don't go into coaching, life coaching, unless they've had some experience in trauma, in, anxiety, depression, whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
And I think that being able to offer coaching for a lot less
Yeah.
than therapy is really going to help a lot of people because I
Hmm.
know when, some people who has $150 for 50 minutes.
I've seen it for 8,000 for a block of 10 sessions.
Oh my God, I know a girl who charges about that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she works with stars and everything, and but it's
Mm.
insane. I'm just like, what? Like, I, I barely make that in a year. Like, what are you saying? You want me to pay you for therapy?
Yeah. So I think it's booming right now. It's gotten very popular, so it's a little bit harder to get your foot in the door. But
Hmm.
if you, keep up with the resilience that, you know, you and I both pretty much have, I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
Keep up with the resilience. I think that we'll find ourselves right where we need to be.
That's what I like to think. I think it's kind of trending in that direction. I think I've been able to knock down a lot of my triggers. I still have, the two major ones, which they're triggers, but they're core beliefs. So they're going to take a lot of digging to
Hmm.
get to. Um, but I am digging. And I think
Do
that's
you
the
want to talk
point.
about those, or would you rather leave
Sure,
those?
no, that's fine. I think my biggest two triggers are they're combined, and it's definitely abandonment and rejection because it started from day one. Like my mother, she had my birth mother, she had her chances to clean up and, be sober and come for visits. And she kept coming higher drunk and then, going through so many foster homes and not really understanding at the time that people are taking you away for your safety. You are not being given away, but it
Right.
still sinks into a young brain, like a pre-verbal brain,
Hmm.
as abandonment. So, and then my mom died, my best friend died. Like, there's been a lot of losses,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of grief. It took me a long time to and I'm not even going to say get over, but
Right, because you
to
don't. You don't.
no, to live with the hole in my heart that will always be there because my mom, in my opinion, was my only safe person in my life. She was the only person that loved me. She was the only person that, even during her own problems, she tried to take care of me. However, because she had her own problems, she also turned me into an adult at age 5 by making me her confidant about abuse. So at 5, I went from being this little Lego soccer playing kid to being a tiny Lego soccer playing adult who was now doing everything I could to try and protect my mom. Like I shouldn't have
Hmm.
been making I shouldn't have been making pots of coffee when I think about it at 5.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't make sense. It's like you
Hmm.
could burn your freaking hand off. And it took me maybe a few years after she passed. She passed when I was 19, and it took me a few years to be able to write her a letter and say, you know, when someone dies, they go on a pedestal somehow because we don't want to speak ill of them because they can't defend themselves.
Right.
So, but at the same time, I can't carry this blame that I'm feeling for so long when it's not my blame or shame to carry.
Right.
And I had to write her a letter and saying, you know what, the biggest mistake that you made in my life was not going to a friend of yours to make them a confidant, but coming to a 5-year-old child.
Hmm. She was more your best friend than your mom.
Yeah. And then I had to
Hmm.
become the protector for the like abuse at night. I would try everything to try and stop it, like from walking in to knocking on the door to, and that would just infuriate my father. And like, I would get the remnants of the abuse. I was dangled out a 2-story window by my feet when I was maybe 5 or 6.
Mm.
Um, so there's just always been this fear, and it's so funny because when I think I was so full of fear by the time I was adopted that I could read people before I could freaking speak. So when I looked at him and had already had so many other problems with men,
Hmm.
I was terrified of him from day one. And it
Right.
never changed.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. So you This question really has interested me when I read it when you sent over your responses, and
Hmm.
I've really been curious about this one. So you talked about neuroplasticity and rewiring the brain. Okay.
Correct.
So, what did that look like for you in real life? I'm really curious about this.
Okay, so a couple of ways I've done it. I have tried through IFS, internal family systems. I have done EMDR, which I'm
Okay.
currently doing now, and I'm finding I had to look up, I'm very like curious person, and I had to look up like what exactly is happening in my brain for me to understand. But I
Mm-hmm.
find it's really helpful in processing memories.
Oh.
And I think the biggest thing was being so afraid of everything
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to say to just one fear at a time, what if I was curious instead of afraid?
Okay.
So I started when I would catch myself starting to feel afraid, I would start trying to be curious and asking questions. Well, what if this and what if that? I
Mm-hmm.
already prepared for worst case scenario anyway, so why not hop on the other side and check it out?
Mm-hmm.
And I found that the more I catch myself, the quicker it is to stop the thought. And that's because as your brain holds all these little trauma memories and trauma responses.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just take away something, a habit or a coping mechanism, it leaves a void. And that habit, whether it's negative or positive, will jump back in really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take something out, you need to replace it immediately with a positive coping mechanism. And that's the key is it's like everything. It's repetition. It's
Okay.
repetition and telling your brain over and over and over again every time that negative voice pops up, this is not my script. Because
Mm.
usually it's not our script. It's scripts that people have given us over the years, and we've internalized to make it our script.
Right.
But this is not our script. And the fact that the brain, especially with CPTSD, the more they do the research, they realize it's a TBI. It's a traumatic brain injury. It's not an illness.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all these pathways in your brain, which are supposed to be like wired so they're connecting like this. And with CPTSD, they're connected like this. They're all
Mm-hmm.
crooked. So with neuroplasticity, we're learning that we can actually adjust that and it will eventually maybe not go back to perfectly crooked or perfectly straight, but it won't be as off center as it was before. Um, and I've been using, I did some research on art, neuroplasticity and art. And there's certain ways that you can like if you even like just Google it, it tells you basically to pick a problem in your mind or a trauma or a memory and write it down on the back of the paper. Then you like close your eyes basically and freehand scribble for 5 seconds. Then you
Okay.
go and put some shapes in it. And the idea is that the freehand scribbles, wherever they cross, that's a line in your head that doesn't meet. So what you're going to do with a marker or pencil crayon or whatever is you're going to round everything out. So now it's not a sharp edge, it's all circular.
Huh.
And as you're creating these circles and combining these lines to not be so harsh, it's actually subconsciously rewiring your brain by connecting these things in a circular way instead of in a straight crisscross harsh lines.
Oh, okay. All right. So, because my assumption was when you talk kind of about rewiring your brain, I thought it was more about, self-talk and, you know, just not so much the therapy aspect of it, but really just kind of saying, okay, this has happened to me. This is scary. I can get through this one step at a time, and then kind of
Yep.
is that part of it as well?
That's absolutely part of it. And
Mm.
then the repetition of that over and over and over can
Mm.
turn the negative scenario that we've created, the negative story that we've created around that situation to survive. We can break that down and then maybe like, I mean, it's hard to say this because like nobody deserves to be abused in
Right.
any form, shape, or form.
Mm.
But if you have suffered and you start to heal, there are gifts that
Mm-hmm.
people that go through abuse have that someone who hasn't experienced trauma may not have. And the gift, I don't, I'm not a big, I think you can teach empathy to a point.
Yeah. But
You can
not as
teach
an
compassion,
not
but
as an
not as an
empathy. Yeah.
empath.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, and I think that, as an empath, it's so easy for us to be empathetic towards others because as a trauma victim, we don't believe that we deserve the same. And
Yeah.
that's a narrative change in our head that we have to make to say, I am just as worthy as every other victim of trauma, survivor of trauma.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can give this out, why is it so difficult to give it back to myself?
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to start with, as you said, baby steps and learning that, reminding yourself that you are worthy of the same love, the same empathy, the same compassion, the same safety that you provide for other people. You
Mm-hmm.
provide that for yourself too, and
Right.
you're worthy of that. And you have to try. Like you really have to try in order to heal. Healing's not fun. I wrote a poem the other day and I was like, you know, I think most people think that surviving the trauma is the hardest part, and it is, but it isn't because
Mm-hmm.
your brain does what it has to do to survive. But when we're healing, we are literally cracking open a safe full of horrors that are leaking out left, right, and center, and
Mm-hmm.
each one needs processed.
Right.
It's not fun. Who wants to do this? Who wants to open the vault? You just rather leave it there. But that's not
Right.
how trauma works. Trauma, a vault opens itself, and when you're ready, poof, out comes a memory, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we talked about your 3,000 emails from people, which is still amazing. I I don't know. I think I would have been able eventually to take it all in and answer those emails and deal with it, but when it first came in, I think I would have been so very overwhelmed with the whole situation. I don't know if I would have handled it with as much grace as you were able to.
I was like, when they first coming in, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like people are reading this, like,
Hmm.
and then the numbers that came in, and then that started to become almost concerning because I'm like, oh my God, there's like it really opened my eyes to this worldwide crisis pandemic of suicide that nobody really wants to address. It's not just North America, it's I got people in like Egypt. I've got
Hmm.
people sneaking me emails. I've had emails from 12-year-olds where I have to ask, does your parent know you're speaking with me right now?
Yeah.
Because they're suicidal and I
Hmm.
can't take that
No,
that
there's
chance,
no
right?
way.
Like
Yeah.
so I was very overwhelmed because I think I thought I had to. Because I put my email address in there, I had to respond to all of them all the time. And I was just like, it's too much. And that's when I started to like, wait a second. I can send an email back that takes 2 seconds that say, give me a day to read this over and absorb what you said, and I will get back to you.
Like boundaries, like you said before, you've
Yes.
got it.
And yeah,
Whenever you're working in this kind of a field, there you've got to be able to set up boundaries. And I
yeah.
found that with my coaching that there's boundaries that need to be put in place because
Yes.
especially even for me, like I'll listen for, 2 hours and all of a sudden I'll say, well, oh my gosh, this was supposed to be an hour long session. We we went over a little bit. So so I have to kind of just say, okay, and when I send out the invitations, I'll specifically say this is an hour long thing. And, if they want more, we'll have to schedule another session,
Yes,
kind of thing,
exactly. Yeah.
So, but it's hard when you first come into the the field of being a mental health advocate because you think it's going to be one way and it sort of ends up coming up to be a whole different way in my opinion
Yes.
anyway. um it it took up a lot more time than I anticipated, and I was fine with it, at the beginning, but once I started getting so involved that it was, suddenly it was midnight and I was still answering emails. Then I
Hmm.
started to realize this is going to negatively impact me. Um,
Yes.
and that's the complete opposite of what I was going for.
Hmm.
So I get what you're talking about completely, but so what right now, what brings you the most peace in your day-to-day life?
Music, art, nature, and my
Mm,
dogs.
yeah, oh yeah.
Um, I'm huge water person. On, near, around, just hearing the sound of water, it's very calming to me. I'm a grounding, put your feet in the grass
Mm-hmm.
type of nature person. Um, I started acrylic pour painting, and I'm gonna try to learn to actually paint.
Oh
So
wow.
I've kind of been trying to work on new creative outlets. I am working on two books, although I don't
Great.
know why, but
You don't know why.
like I know why, but I'm not. I started one and then had this idea for another one, and then I started that. And now I'm just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to really pick a project and start after I move. I think once I'm settled in over the winter, I'm just going to pound it off and get it out.
And
And
you can make yourself like a great space, a really good desk and a good lamp and some really good
yeah,
pens. If you're a pen, I'm a pen fanatic. So I've
oh, me
got
too. I have pens everywhere.
pens and notebooks are my thing. So you just make yourself a really great space and then you'll knock that stuff out in no time.
Yeah. And I don't want to give too much away, but basically, I want to use this letter uh, and these stories as the basis for the book because I believe that everybody's story can help someone else.
Hmm.
So I have consulted a lawyer to make sure, like I'm not infringing on anybody's like personal
Right.
rights or anything like that. So yeah, it's just a matter of winter's ending now, summer's coming, so I get my mojo back and
Hmm.
I get my creativity back and that kind of stuff. So I want to get going on that and focus on the move, making a place like my room is like my sanctuary, so
Yeah.
I need to make a sanctuary just somewhere else.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So coming to terms with just the change, I think, like moving is like, I don't know, they listed as one of like top five life changes, and I've moved like, I don't know, three times in the last 5 years. So
Mm.
it gets a little much sometimes, but at the same time, it's a new start, it's a fresh beginning,
Hmm.
nowhere to go but up.
Absolutely. And like I've said before, knowing you, something fantastic will come out of it. I'm certain of it. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I saw some of your paintings up on X one of these days.
I hope so, because I really enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun. And with the art acrylic pouring too is what I like about it is it's such a freestyle art that like there's no constrictions. So everything comes out different. You could not make the same piece twice if you freaking tried.
That's great.
So it's a really good creative outlet. And I journal a lot too. Like every
Yeah.
day I make sure that I'm, writing out, and I'm also trying to not do as much distraction. And if I have a feeling or an emotion, sit with it, try and figure out what it's telling me. Don't be afraid of it, be curious of it, but realize too that I don't have to hang on to it for the whole day,
Right. Right.
right? I can like sit with it, give it a time period, and then say, thanks for giving me the information you did, and out the other door you go.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. This is something I'm really curious about. You have a set of coping skills that you use.
Yes.
And I wonder, have you ever, jotted them down? Have you come up with a list of them? Because I would honestly be curious to see the list of your coping skills and how they line up with um like my teachings and whether or not you could even put yours out there as something for people to utilize
Right.
with
Like,
their own clients and whatnot.
yes, I was thinking about that too. I did start a list. I would like to finish it and expand upon it.
Hmm.
Um, because I think, I paid for a lot of therapy to get all these skills, but why keep them to myself?
Hmm.
Right? It costs me nothing to give them out to anybody. I
Right.
still have them. I'm not losing them.
Right.
So I will absolutely put together a list for you. I have no problem doing that at all. And we'll see,
That
if
would be
if
great
they do
because
help.
I'd love to find some things that are a little bit different from the run of the mill. I've got a lot of folks that are, I want coping skills, but I don't want those coping skills.
Right.
You know,
See, yeah.
they've been around
Outside the
for a while.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to do that for you for sure.
that would be wonderful. So, since you're also a podcaster, what have you learned? Let's see, about storytelling and the power of conversation over the last few years.
I think conversation is so important. And I think like I am sad that COVID really messed up an entire generation's ability to communicate. Like
Mhm.
the like 18 to 22, 23 or 24-year olds, they have such difficulty with just communicating within their friend group.
Hmm.
Everything is so different. And I'm a big proponent of there's nothing that shouldn't be talked about.
Hmm.
Like nothing should be taboo. For suicide, for example, I think parents should be saying at the dinner table, how was your day? Did you get your homework done? How was your test? How's your mental health? Have you
Right,
had thoughts of suicide or self-harm? Why
right.
isn't this part of a daily conversation? Because and I want to like really exacerbate this fact that you saying to your child, mentioning suicide or self harm is in no way going to put that idea in their head for them to do it.
Hmm.
But it is
Yeah.
going to let them know that maybe before they get to that step, they can reach out to you, which is why
Hmm.
I did the ebook on self harm.
Hmm.
So I did an ebook for self-harm and I put it in with a friend of mine and we put it in schools and stuff because it's towards kids. And I was just like one day it's basically like what a safety box is, right? So like you
I,
have like a shoe box with like all your favorite things and memories, things that make you happy, a playlist, a books, anything that can bring you from a trauma moment into the present.
Okay.
So I did that for kids, and I basically said, go get a shoebox, and I want you to decorate it however you want. And then I want you to put some coping things in, but I want you to put some things that make you happy. So if you have a dog, take a picture of your dog and put it in there. Put your favorite song lists in there so you can remember, because sometimes in trauma we can't think, oh my God, I need to listen to music. What is it? It becomes overwhelming to even say, I don't even know what song I want to listen to.
Right.
Um, but in like for self-harm, I'm a big proponent of elastic bands. So I tell them keep an
Mm-hmm.
elastic band in there that you can put around your wrist. Keep an orange in the freezer. I know it sounds ridiculous, but keep a frozen fruit in the freezer, because holding a piece of frozen fruit, a lemon, a lime, an orange for 60 seconds, either in your hand or at the nape of your neck, will completely reset your nervous system.
Mm-hmm. That's one that I
There's
never tried, but I did hear about that at one point, and I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, it's like running your whole head in the morning under freezing cold water. It just gives
Mm-hmm.
like a shock that shocks your system back into like a sense of balance. It's even like with breathing exercises, right? People are like, okay, inhale for 4 through your nose and then blow out through your mouth. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that works, but technically it's resetting the wrong nervous system, because we have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. So if you actually want to calm down, you need to breathe in through your nose 4, and you need to breathe out through your nose also, sometimes even one nostril,
Mm-hmm.
for 7 or 8. Your
Oh, okay.
blowout always has to be a lot longer than your inhale. And that kicks your nervous system, again, the right nervous system, into bringing you back into more of a sense of calm.
Mm. Yeah, see that even I've never heard, and I've been around for a while, and I've never heard any of those particular coping skills. So yeah, I think you've got some valuable stuff there that you could get into a magazine or,
Yeah,
obviously on
pamphlet. I would even do a pamphlet that could be handed
right.
out, like
Hmm.
anything like that.
Yeah, for
Anything like
sure.
that.
Somebody like me, like I'm 13, is it 13 years or is it was 2013. No, it's 15 years now. 15 years clean from self-injury.
Excellent.
Thank you. And if I had maybe seen some other things other than I mean, I had the band, you had everybody has the band.
Mhm.
Um but I never tried any of the others that you've mentioned, and who knows what could have been had I tried them,
I
so
actually use tattoos
mm,
as one of my forms to stop self-harm, because I played soccer, so I had to get changed a lot. So, and I was very private, so my scars are all on my hips where nobody could see.
hmm
But I do have a few on my arms. And I thought one day, I always wanted tattoos anyway. And I thought, well, you know what? If I cover that scar up with this tattoo, I'm never going to cut over my
it
tattoos
is
because
so
it's
funny.
artwork.
That is so funny that you say that, because I got, let me see where the camera is. I got this.
Oh, nice.
See right there,
Yep.
it says
Yep.
Joe. And I knew that if I wrote Joe and had an infinity symbol on my wrist, that I would never do that again there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's funny that you
Well,
say that.
what happened to me is I went a little overboard with everything.
Yeah,
I just,
you're a little more
I just,
courageous with the tattooing than I am.
one of my dear friends is my tattoo artist, and I've been watching her grow for the past 10 years, and she gives me a phenomenal deal. She's an incredibly talented artist. I actually just got one done a week ago.
Yeah.
On my upper thigh, I had like a safari scene on. I adopted an elephant in Kenya because I'm obsessed with elephants. So I
Oh, wow.
adopted an elephant, a little baby, and she's 2, so it's at a sanctuary. And it's a rehab place, so they have integration units before they integrate them back out into the wild. And so I borrowed as models some of their animals,
Hmm.
So I have like my little elephant on my leg, and I have her best friend that they always used to hang out together. And then I have like a zebra that they rescued, and
Oh, that's
then
great.
a little baby hippopotamus they just found. He's like 6 days old, and his name's Bumpy. And I can't even say how, dude, he sleeps like a puppy on his caretaker with a blanket on, and the guy's just
Oh.
rubbing his head. It's like the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, how are you going to grow into like a 5,000 pound giant terrifying animal?
Really? Well, the one thing that I noticed the most about you, and one of the things that I love the most about you, is you never ever stop trying to make your life fulfilling, and you never stop trying to get out there and just do it. You know what I mean? You just, if you see something you want to do, you do it. And I really envy you. I think that it's fantastic.
Thank
Um,
you. I
and
have to kick myself in the ass a lot sometimes to get it going,
oh
but
yeah,
once I see it, yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I think that it's fantastic. And so now if you do have a bad day, if you do have an overwhelming day, what do you look to that grounds you out of everything that you kind of, keep pace with?
I think um I'll go outside if it's sunny, of course, and warm because I live in Canada, so we only have warm for 5 months. But if it's
Mm-hmm.
sunny and warm, I'll go out and sit in the backyard in the grass with my pups, play with them a bit. That grounds me. Something I can totally focus on, like art, like drawing, coloring, those types of things. And then other times it's just silence. I'm not really good at meditating because my brain is just constantly like 84
Yeah.
trains on 7 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm learning to not just immediately, feel something and want to distract from it. I'm trying to figure out what I'm feeling, why it's telling me. And sometimes if I wake up just like upset and miserable for no reason that I can point my finger at, I will literally put a time limit on it. I will say, it's 9 o'clock in the morning now. By noon, get up your ass and go do something distracting. So I will
Mm-hmm.
give my time to sit with that feeling. If it's feeling really, really heavy, then at noon, I say that's enough. That's enough. I'm
Yeah.
not sitting with you anymore. You haven't told me anything that I need to know. So go back in the closet for now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go do something that, I can focus on. And it's usually something productive for myself or for someone else because I have that weird switch where I could be like literally suicidal as all hell.
Yeah.
And I get one message and one person needs help, off goes my switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I am perfectly fine to go and help someone else. And that in turn helps me
Yeah.
because for me, helping others is a gift, but it's also a gift to myself,
Absolutely. And
you
as
know?
as long as, and it sounds like you are, as long as you keep it in perspective and you take care of yourself too,
Learning
you
to
know?
self-care, one of the more difficult things I've had to do in
Yeah.
my life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Convincing yourself that you are worthy of self-care
Right.
and then actually doing it and
Mm-hmm.
figuring out what those things are for you that look like self-care because it's different for everyone,
Right.
And some days it's different for me. Some days I just need to escape with a book for an hour and
Mm-hmm.
put my mind into like someone else's life, so to speak.
Right.
Sometimes I was having a really rough day and a friend of mine just out of the blue, I hadn't talked to in a while, just called me up on Twitter and I was like, dude, you have no idea how much I needed this connection right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little conversation. We chatted about art, maybe 20 minutes, and that was that. And when I got off, I was just like, I just needed that connection. And I think a lot of people right now are so isolated, they really just need connection.
Yeah, it would be nice, and I know this is wishful thinking, and we've got to wrap it up pretty quickly here, but it would be nice if there were toll-free phone calls that were about that connection, as opposed to, you know, the ones that were
Yep.
strictly about crisis situations and trauma
Mm-hmm.
and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
If we could come up somehow with just a way to talk to somebody when you need to talk to somebody without fear of the police showing up at your door.
Yes, yes. Um, I would love to open a nonprofit
Hmm.
one day that does exactly that. That, you don't have, I mean, if you are holding a knife to your throat while we're having a conversation, you're leaving me no choice.
Right.
If you can sit down and have a conversation with me, I guarantee you 90% of the time, I will get you out of that frame of mind,
Hmm.
one way or another.
Right.
But the fear, even for me, reaching out is horrific. I don't need cops at my door. They do nothing. They
Hmm.
come in all puffed up vests, all intimidating and do their thing, right? And that's not how to work. So when I have been called on, I end up telling the cops, I teach you what you should be doing with mental health.
Hmm. Yeah. You
So I know we
you
have to wrap up.
yeah, we do, unfortunately. This has been a
That's all
fantastic
right.
conversation.
We can do a part two whenever
Oh,
you need.
absolutely. Yeah, once I get my schedule laid out and everything, I will definitely
Absolutely.
get back in touch with you, and I mean, because we could talk for days.
I know, I feel like that too.
But it was so great, and thanks again for agreeing to be on the show. And
Of course, man, it's my pleasure.
yeah, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your friendship, and um, I look for you online every day, and it's just good to know that you're there.
Thank you, and I feel the same. I'm so super proud of you. I'm so happy you're getting back into this again, and it sounds like things are going well for you, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled for that because you deserve it.
Thank you so much. But
Absolutely.
we will talk again soon. I'll send you all the information about the show, and we can go from
Awesome.
there.
All sounds good.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks.
Jody.
Thanks
Take
again, my
care.
friend.
All
You
right.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been Unfinished Conversations. Thanks for tuning in. Catch us next Friday for a new episode.